This is the lesson for Thursday, October the 25th. We are going to be exploring our next exponent property called the power rule. So just as we've learned earlier this week, the exponent tells you how many times to multiply the base by itself. So what's going to be different now is that our base is going to already be raised to a power, and then that whole thing is going to be raised to another power. So what this means is you take 2 squared and you're going to multiply it by itself 3 times. So if we expand that, each 2 squared is made up of 2 times 2, and you have 3 of them, and so altogether there are 6 2's multiplied by itself. Let's look at one more. This means 5 cubed multiplied by itself 4 times. Okay? Then if we expand each one of those to 5 times 5 times 5, we have 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4. So together, if we count all those 5s, it becomes 5 to the 12th power. So you might be starting to see where we're going with this. Let's go backwards with this one. This is x to the 6th power, and it's multiplied by itself 4 times. So x to the 6th is my base, and 4 is my exponent. Now, I don't think there's room in this box for me to write all this out, so let's talk about the fact that you're probably figuring out the rule by now. Look up here. This ended up being 2 to the 6th power. What I did was I multiplied my 2 times my 3. 2 times 3 is 6. This is the only time you multiply exponents, is when it's a power raised to a power. 3 times 4 is 12. So here, if I do x to the 6 times 4, that's going to be x to the 24th power. And if I had written out 6 groups of x's 4 times, that would be a total of 24 x's multiplied by itself. So again, this one would be way too big to write out. So if we find another way, we're going to write it as a to the 20 times 32. And when I multiply 20 times 32, that's going to equal a to the 640th power. Way too many a's to write out. So our general rule for what happens when you have something already to a power raised to a power again. You multiply the exponents. This is the only time you multiply the exponents. Remember, with multiplication, we add the exponents, and with division or quotient, we subtract the exponent. So how is this rule different from the product rule? The product rule says add the exponents. And with this new rule, we're going to multiply. Okay? So if we're going to write the algebraic rule that we came up with, it's going to be, if you have a to the m power raised to the nth power, that's going to equal a to the m times n power. Okay, let's try some of these. These have got a base that also has a numerical coefficient. You always work out the numerical coefficient part of the expression. So let's take a look at this. You can see where they had 3y squared. and that whole thing is raised to the third power. So you write it 3 times itself. Then it really helps if you group the numbers together and the variables together, because you can count 3 times 3 times 3. This is actually not right, so let's mark that out. 3 times 3 times 3 is going to be 27. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So y to the 6th power. Okay. On the second one, we're going to take this whole base, 6x to the 4th power, times itself. Because it's squared. Times itself. 2 times we multiply it. And that's going to be 6 times 6 times 1, 2, 3, 4, and times 1, 2, 3, 4 again. So 6 times 6 is 36, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of my x's multiplied together. Okay? Now, this says, too big to write out, find another way. So, what you have to do is you have to raise each factor to the 4th power. So we're going to do 5 to the 4th power times x to the 7th times the 4th power. Okay? So you'll have to use your calculator for this. Remember, when we raise a number to an exponent, we're going to use this up arrow right here. So we're going to type in 5 up arrow 4. And I'm going to get 625. I might not can see that. There we go. 625. So I'm going to write 625. And that's going to be x to the 7 times 4, x to the 28th power. Okay, so it's real easy to do if you have your calculator. So what should you do when there's a coefficient other than 1 in the parentheses, like the 3 problems above? You also raise it to the power outside the parentheses. So see, if we had done these this way, if we had done 6 squared, that's 36, and then x to the 4th squared is x to the 4 times 2, which is 8. Look at this one. 3 cubed, if we type it in our calculator, is 27, and y squared to the 3rd power is 2 times 3, y to the 6. So you're not going to write all this out for your homework. Just learn to use your calculator, and you'll get these right every time.